G'day, legends. Welcome back to another episode of the Butcher's Bible Podcast. I'm your host, Ant, and today's guest is Chris Gill, the author of The Butcher Boys. Cheers. Let's go.
G'day, Chris. How are you, mate?
Hi, Ant. You okay? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It was a very long time coming, mate. This is I've been very, very excited to do this one.
Yeah, there's been a big build-up, so here we go.
Here we go. Yes. Before we get stuck into this, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Gill. I'm an author. I've had two novels traditionally published by Fisher King Publishing. My first one was called Back Road, which was more autobiographical when I used to be a teacher in further education. And then that led on to writing my current novel, which relates to you a little more, which is The Butcher Boys. Are they? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ant.
You're very welcome.
And this is, it's not an autobiographical story at all, but it was inspired by a time when I lived in the Yorkshire Dales, in a Yorkshire Dales village. And it was, the idea came from there being two rival butchers within this village. And I thought it'd be an interesting story if, as children, they'd been very close friends and reliant upon each other. And then as they became adults and took over their family's butcher's shops, how that rivalry started to impact on their friendship, but also their own individual searches for identity. So this was published a couple of years ago by Fisher King Publishing, and it's doing very well. It's in lots of bookshops, and so I'm doing quite a lot of promotion work. This is the first podcast that I've ever done, so it's a great honour, and I hope it goes okay for you, Ant, as well.
It's going to be absolutely fine. Don't worry, mate. Like, as soon as we publish this, plenty of people will love this. When I did buy the book, there was two things that really stood out for me. You got like over 60 5-star reviews on Amazon, I believe it was.
Yes, that's right.
And the one disappointment about the book is I didn't get a signed copy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to just come down to Dorset and sign it for you then, I suppose.
Excellent.
Another one.
Right. Before we get stuck into the actual book itself, let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us about yourself and what you've done previously and what's led you down to doing what you do.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I would say, like, to start with, the first time I was really inspired by writing was when I was a child and writing stories and poetry at school. And I always remembered really enjoying getting lost in those particular worlds that I was writing about. It was almost like it were in sort of a bit of a dream state when I was writing it, and it felt very natural. But then I didn't really continue with it. I had other interests, but I always remembered that feeling. So it was something that I came back to when I was in my early 20s, when I started travelling. So I left school at 17 and worked in a supermarket for 4 years and was a grocery manager and bought my house and settled down and everything. And then I suddenly thought, I want to maybe explore the world a little bit. So I went travelling for a couple of years to your neck of the woods, actually, as well. So
did you?
Yes, I was going to say that Australia was an inspiration for this book. It was a very link, but So when I was travelling, I got back into my reading a lot and thinking more about some ideas for stories. And so when I came back to England a couple of years later, I was determined to continue my education. Went to York University, and I carried on. Started writing plays there and did quite well with my plays at the National Student Drama Festival.
Cool.
And so I wanted to really write plays when I was in my mid-20s, and that's what I tried to do, but didn't quite work out. But I always sort of kept the dream of wanting to write. That was always sort of there in the background whilst I was carrying on in my career. So I started teaching in further education, qualified as a further education teacher. And I did that for about 10 years, which was mainly working with adults with learning disabilities, using the vehicles of drama and creative writing to build confidence and self-expression and self-esteem. So that sort of thing. And that's where my idea for my first novel came, actually, Back Road, which is, as I say, was semi-autobiographical. And it's about people working in an industry where they're supposedly helping other people, which most people are in it for helping other people. But sometimes there's somebody in it that's more about themselves and how it reflects on them and getting the attention for themselves, really, rather than genuinely caring and caring properly for the people that they're supporting. So that's sort of where that idea came from. So I wrote that over a couple of years. I sent it off to a few publishers, Fisher King Publishing, who are a Yorkshire-based publisher, really liked the novel, and so they agreed to publish it. So I signed a contract with them. That was about 12 years ago now. And then I joined a writing group and started writing The Butcher Boys. It took me 8 years to write The Butcher Boys.
Oh,
so you worry
wow.
about reading it slowly. It's fine, mate, honestly. Because, I was working at the same time, but I really did devote myself to putting the best quality I could into it. Joined a writing group. I learnt a lot from other fellow writers with a lot more experience than me. And it's 105,000 words, and I read out every single word in the writing group over a few years, and really sort of honed my skills through that. And then, so I finished that about 4 years ago. I spent a couple of years, 18 months editing it, really sort of making it as good as I possibly could, and then Fisher King published it. So that's sort of like my journey. But, you know, aside from that, I've had a family, so I've got a son who's at university now. He's back on holiday at the moment, so I'm back at the deep end, looking after him a little bit. And me and my partner, we've got a grandson as well. So so we're keeping very busy with all that. And we live in Manchester now, but I've still got very close links to Yorkshire and the Yorkshire Dales, which is where The Butcher Boys is set. That's where my mum still lives, and my sister still lives there. So I visit regularly. So, and that again is an influence for the book, actually. My family sort of, my family background. My grandfather was a butcher in Grassington in the Yorkshire Dales. Now, it's not based on my family, honestly, it's not. But that must have been there somewhere in the subconscious when I was writing the book.
Yeah, I would say when reading it, like you said as well, you took a lot of time really perfecting and wording, and you could really tell like the way when you draw, like you're grasping and it's coming on, like it's like all of the information and everything, and it's laid out with me, and it just keeps me hooked. And the way you've written it is really good because you've taken that time, you've done it, but you also added your own twist to it, and it's had, like you said, like it might be somewhere in that ethos, like you were saying, that it really does relate to me, or like to the like.
That's fantastic to hear.
To the reader, I would say. And my wife started reading it as well, and she goes, "This is nicely put," because she'll read 30 books, 40 books a month.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a big reader. She has a Kindle now, and she'll read like there's, I couldn't even tell you what book she's written. She's just crazy, and even her reading it now, she's like, "This is nicely put." And she goes, make sure to tell him. I was like, okay.
I'm so grateful for that. It's great to hear. It's and the reaction I'm getting from people from very diverse backgrounds has been fantastic. A lot of people who reading different genres are going, "Oh, this looks quite an interesting book. It's not my sort of thing generally. I'll give it a go," and then they really love it. So it's I think that's more about the characters being very real, and the readers are investing in the two main characters of Michael and Jack. And they really believe in them as characters and care about them. And I think that's something that's universal in storytelling. If you care about the characters, you're interested in the book.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like when I've said to you before, when reading, like I don't feel like their connection or anything. Like I don't know if it's like the genre I was reading or whatever it may be, but when I picked this up, and the way you've written it is nicely put, because I can picture it in my head, and when I'm reading it I can visualize everything that you're putting in there, and you've really taken your time, like we've said, and it's really clear picture, like right at the beginning with Rockabilly, like you describe him as a punks, like and in my head I'm like, I know exactly what he looks like, with his hair, with his leather, with his rings, and what kind of attitude he has. And then the boys themselves, the way you described them, and you kind of instantly, I don't know if it's bias or whatnot, but I think I like Michael more like just
Right,
saying,
okay, yeah.
yeah,
It'd be
like
interesting
so
to see
far,
what you think by the end of the book. Actually, you say you're about halfway through it now.
just before
Yeah,
halfway.
yeah.
So like, yeah,
Because I found, and a lot of people have said this to me. One chapter they're like, "Oh, I'm really with Michael," and then a couple of chapters later they really feel for Jack, and then
mm,
Jack does something that's out of order, and then they've got more sympathy for Michael, and then Michael's a bit set in his ways, and they don't. So it's quite.
mm,
I find that quite interesting that people are a bit divided on who they're cheering for,
mm,
and actually I think that there's an affinity with both characters from most of the readers.
mm,
But when I was writing it, and I still feel this way now, I care about them equally. They're very
yeah,
different characters, but I think really looking back on it, I say it's not autobiographical. After I'd finished writing it, I was a bit more honest with myself, and somebody asked me this question. I was doing an author event at a bookshop, and somebody had read it, and they said, "Are these two characters like just two different sides to your character? Are these two?"
oh,
And I
oh,
stopped for a second and thought, actually, if I'm really honest with myself, maybe there is some truth in that, because I've always had that
yeah,
sort of dilemma in my own life: do I stay or do I go? That's the song in there, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
it's a good
like
song.
I'm not going to do the song,
Uh,
but it's like, very loyal to my family, and I love my family very much, and I had a very pleasant and stable upbringing. But at the same time, I felt like I needed to sort of strike out and go my own way, as hopefully I've portrayed that a little bit in what I've talked about already. But
mm,
so I think there is sort of two sides to my character exemplified in Jack and Michael, and that's probably why it's quite powerful, because it was something that I really cared about as well, and without realizing that part of it, I was probably writing about myself more than I realized. you know.
to be honest, it is just teenage boys. Like
Yeah,
they're like in a sense as well. A lot of us grow up and we either want to go against the grain or we're loyal. Like the balance has been really impossible, especially like when you're younger. You got like all these changes, like outside, inside of
yes,
home, and all these other bits. And it does portray that very well when you do look at the two boys, because
yeah,
you got the loyalty, you've also got the other side of it, and
yeah.
it is relatable, and it is like you can understand it.
Thank you.
But there is, like you spent 8 years visualizing these two.
Yeah.
You spent 8 years. Like
Mm.
that's a long term relationship in
Yeah,
my eyes.
yeah. I did
And
shed a tear when I finished it. I must admit, it was
uh,
quite a
yeah,
feeling when I actually got to the end of the book. Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean, like you say, but then of course, is when they become adults as well. Like the second half of the book is when they're in the 20s, and of course by
uh,
that time things have changed a lot. Both of them have a lot more responsibility at that time, and that impacts on their friendship and their personal lives as well. So,
mm,
the story spans from 1976 to 1992. So from when they're 12 years old to when they're 28.
yeah, wow, yeah,
A lot of things can happen in that time, and a lot of changes, and I think they both learn something about each other, about themselves, and about each other. And they obviously change a lot throughout the story. Um,
mm,
there's a lot of things going on in the background as well. You know, Political things, like for example, the recession at the time in the 80s impacting upon the whole economy in the
yeah,
UK, and obviously with two butchers in a small village competing for trade, and then with the recession kicking in, that has a massive impact on their business. But also at the time in the 80s, and I worked in a supermarket myself,
yes, yeah,
experienced the power of supermarkets growing at that time in particular. Obviously, they're very strong now, but it's great to see actually that independent butcher shops have made such a strong comeback in the last 20 years, because actually
mm,
having a USP and going for quality, obviously, um, and that sort of personal touch and everything, customer care and everything like that, it's made
yeah,
a big comeback. It's really interesting to see and fantastic to see. But in the 80s in particular, that was impacting massively on the independent butcher shops, the growth of the supermarket. So that again is a key part of the story. And another thing
mm,
as well, which impacts on the boys and the story, is the growth of people buying second homes in places like the Yorkshire Dales, which meant that a lot of local people were priced out of the market.
Yes.
So they couldn't buy their own homes, and also so that affects the local economy, because people who own second homes might only be there once every fortnight or once a month or something like that, and so a lot of the trade goes because people leave because they can't afford to live there. So there's a lot of things going on in the background as well, which is not just about the boys' personalities and how they and how they develop. It's about things beyond their control that are impacting on them as well, and I think that's quite an interesting point from the butchery industry as well. Hopefully, it's something that's of interest.
It's the world around them that they're in the Yorkshire Dales, and it's the world around them as well as they've got their little world and what's happening inside. But it's a bigger picture, especially in life as well, in the bigger picture.
Yes.
And like you said as well, like butchers are making a comeback in the past 20 years. I wouldn't say it would be 20 years. We've always been there.
Yeah.
But since COVID, and I dare say it, we had shown the world how much they rely on us. Meat, like in the meat world, supermarkets all aside, your local butcher shop was there during the most craziest time we'll ever live through, and kudos to us, But on the other side as well, the amount of hours and time and effort that went into making sure all the orders were fulfilled during that COVID time shows, the public just how much we're needed.
Absolutely,
And it was, I would say, we have made a comeback, but since COVID, that has shown that we're needed more, and that we should be given more of a chance, and farmers should be given a break, and the food supply should be it should be untouched, especially with what's going on right now.
Definitely.
And it's very scary, and it's beyond our control, some of it.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, that was such an extreme situation, COVID, wasn't it? That, as you say, people did really start to appreciate even more what was, the importance of community, the importance of sticking together. And as you say, it really did sort of illustrate the importance of independent local butcher shops and other shops as well within in the local area. And I think it's interesting what you say about farmers as well. This is in the book quite a lot as well, particularly from Michael's point of view, where the meat's sourced from local farms, and him and his father and his father's father before him would go out to local farms and have really good relations with the local farmers. And there's a lot of talk about the chain from the farms to the butchers to the customers, and how that chain is something which boosts the whole economy. So again, that's something that's touched on there. And hopefully it's something worthwhile saying, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'm coming up to some really interesting parts in the book, but I won't give too much away. I don't want to give it all away because it's such a great read, like I've said since the very beginning, and it's easy to visualize and it's easy to get along with, and also the font. My wife pointed out the font on it. She goes, the font on it is absolutely perfect. It's not too small. It's not too big. It's an easy read as well. And I thought the same.
I'll let the publisher know, Fisher King know that, and they'll be very happy.
Yeah, because because like bedtime, there's either a lamp or whatever. You knock at the overhead bit, but because we got a little lamp in our room. But I found it reading, especially the font size, it was easy. Your eyes, you're not straining your eyes. You're not up close. You're not anything. I found it really good. And my wife said the same. She goes, font size is perfect.
Well, that's great. If it's accessible, that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to go back. I want to touch on the 8 years of writing this book.
Yeah.
We know, we kind of visualize a bit of this is a bit of you, bit of family, and a heap of creativity in between.
Yes.
With the actual writing of the book, and you said you took the writing classes and everything as well. Was there any moment where you kind of was not I guess a writer's block, or did you just kind of hit a curve on one bit and go, oh, I need to take a bit more time, or reach out to someone? Was there any part in the book of writing that?
Yeah, I got into a good routine with it, and I tried to do something on it every day, every weekday. So I had a job where I'd be working in the mornings, and I could set aside some time each day. And sometimes it flowed pretty well. Other times I would be grinding out a couple of sentences over a few hours, but mainly just thinking about the story and doing some more planning. But I always had to have this sense that I'm moving forward in some way. So even if I wasn't writing anything that day, but I was at least sitting down at the laptop and I was thinking creatively and doing some planning and maybe doing a bit of editing of what I'd written before. So I always had that sense of moving forward and trying not to get too frustrated if I wasn't writing as much as I'd like to. But then, of course, there'd be other moments when it would all just sort of start to flow, really, and you sort of come through. It's sort of like coming through a very sort of narrow channel, and suddenly you come out into this open space, and it all flows naturally at that point. And so I was just waiting for those moments. I think I never really had a time when I got despondent with it or had a long break from it where I couldn't do anything. I tended to, and this is how I tend to write. I'll do a lot of planning. I'll look at all the different aspects of the story in terms of the character and the plot, the place, the culture, what's going on at the time, in terms of music and industry and fashion, technology, etc., politics. So I do a lot of planning, and then once I started writing the chapter, it was almost like trying to free myself from those plans, if you see what I mean. It's like writing for me is a balance between control and freedom. So the control part comes through the planning and me feeling like I am in control, and then the freedom part comes in trying to sort of not be constrained by those plans.
Okay.
So it's sort of like the plans become like a foundation for the writing, but then the real creative side of it comes when I just let the imagination go, run free a little bit. So I learned so much from writing it, and it was about that balance between control and freedom. As I say, sometimes the chapter would evolve very naturally, other times I really had to work at it. But all the time I was working out what was going to happen next in the story, or looking at how a character was developing. And often the characters give you clues. It's good to let the characters lead you rather than you lead the characters sometimes. Let them live and evolve in a natural way. Then the story is more natural and their development is more natural. And it sort of gives you clues as to how the story might evolve then. And that, again, those are things that I really discovered when I was writing The Butcher Boys, sort of, through trial and error, but then just going along with something that felt natural. So yeah, I wouldn't say I had writer's block as such, but there were times when it was, as you can imagine, 8 years to write. It was very slow at times.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if it was like a dickish thing to say, like writer's block or whatnot. That's why I was like, like how do you put this? Because 8 years, like I said, that's a long-term relationship, and you've put all of this effort, you've got this vision, you've got all these like brilliant ideas and whatnot, but it's like, where do you piece it? How do you put it together? When you were like developing characters, and you said like, you write the characters, so like you don't write the characters, you let them unfold in a sense. Like, where would you think you were going with Michael towards like what he was going to do towards the end? Like, was that like halfway through the book and you kind of had an idea, or with Jack, right at the beginning, you knew kind of what you were going to do in the middle? Like, how does that whole creativity flow?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, at the start of the book, I had quite a strong outline of the main two characters and a pretty clear idea of the direction that the story was going to start in, which is quite useful when you're writing a book. But it was only when I got like halfway through the book where I was pretty confident I knew how it was going to end, or I knew where it was going to end and the sort of thing that might happen. It took me to halfway through the book to realise that. But in terms of the evolving of the characters, it really was about them just living naturally, in inverted commas, and evolving for themselves, and me just tapping into that. Like you might write a scene when Michael's talking to Jack, and Jack's not intimidating Michael, but he can be a bit more forthright, and he can be a little bit intimidating in some ways. Michael would come back with something that I hadn't expected that he would do, and showed a certain strength to him that I haven't seen, and I'm suddenly like, oh right, that's another side to his character that I've not planned. But actually, I like that, and that seems right and real, and it makes him more of a whole character.
Yeah.
Similarly, you may have a character like Jack who would show a lot more sensitivity in a situation that you might imagine when you first started writing him, or when you'd seen how he acted at the beginning of the book, for example. So again, it was just about letting them go in their own direction and listen to what they wanted and observing them. So it's for me, planning a lot, but then the writing process is actually quite organic. Just let it live and let it evolve and grow in its own way, but control it to an extent as well. And that balance about control and freedom. But I didn't have it like, okay, I've got 28 chapters. Before I start writing, I'm going to plan them all out. I know what's going to happen in every chapter. It wasn't that at all. I had a pretty clear idea of what I was going to put in each chapter before I wrote it. But then I let it evolve as well. So it usually turned out a little differently. But I had a pretty strong idea generally how it was going to go. And then once I finished one chapter, do a lot of planning then for the next chapter, get myself in that position again, and then start writing that and see how that evolves.
Wow. That's awesome.
Maybe you see why it took 8 years to write now.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I was like when I was going through the book, and I was like, oh, you got over 500 pages. That's an actual hefty book. Like, that's a good sized book. Yeah, and I was just like, this is going to be fun. And like you saying that, also, I really like the phrase that you said as well, was it's controlled creativity.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the way the butchery world is as well.
Right.
When we're developing new products and we're doing window displays or we're doing other bits and pieces, it's controlled creativity.
Yes.
Because they're just like, how crazy can we get?
Yeah.
But we got to be controlled about it, and we got to display it. We got to make sure it's able to cook. It's got to display well. You got to be able to sell it, and it is like it translates when you said that, and I was just thinking, oh yeah, like it is, like especially on our end.
Yeah, it's a really interesting parallel actually. I'd never thought about it like that, but it's really interesting. I suppose in so many aspects of life, it is that, isn't it? It's control and freedom. We live our lives that way, don't we? Generally.
Well, also when you said it as well, it's kind of the two boys.
Control and how much freedom, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like when you read with the boys as well, and we discussed a little bit earlier, where you like one wants to go off and do his own, where the other one is like holding family values. So that's controlled, and then that's the freedom. So it translates in another way as well. Yeah, especially when you read it and you can see it and you're visualizing it. You're just like, oh, okay, and there's lots of. They're two different people, but at the same side they are together as friends, and the whole development around like them and the people who interact with them and everything as well is just like it's incredible. But I'm not like too far into the book to talk too much about like what's happening, especially when you said, oh, we go from like the 70s to 92 and they're a bit older, and I'm just like, wow,
society at that time as well. But I think that there's a sense throughout the book, hopefully, that even though the boys are apart, sometimes there's part of them that is always together as well. They're always sort of impacting on each other's lives. Even there's a point in the book where they're not talking for a while. They're still in each other's heads, there's still a sense of closeness and loss when they're not together in that, as close friends, because hopefully their friendship really does matter, and the readers are invested in that, and we see that being built from their childhood in 1976, really. Yeah,
it's definitely. And when you would, is it chapter 5 or 6 when they're doing the boogie races?
Yeah,
the boogie
4, yeah.
4,
race, yeah.
But then like you were talking about like doing those, but they weren't wearing any headgear. There was no shin pads. I doubt there was even a bloody barrier then. That was the 70s, baby. Like kids raw and ready.
I'd say it's not autobiographical, but I do remember building bogies and racing bogies. So, and it was when you're like 9 or 10 years old, it's your world building a bogey. I mean, it's just magnificent. You build your own machine and then you go, and you're not thinking about helmets, obviously. So there's a lot of nostalgia in the book, definitely, and hopefully people can tap into that and know, some of a lot of readers who've read it have told me, it's brought back some great memories for them, and it seems very real to them. So that means a lot.
Yeah, see, it kind of, like I said, like when we're off camera, like to hear about like nostalgia bits and pieces with like the tobacco and some placings and like settings and talking bits and pieces, it's given me a really good idea of what like the time was back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And you've really built that world around it really nicely. And you've like I said, I visualize it, and then if I don't understand what it is, like the brand of tobacco that the OB is like, going off to puff on or whatever, I'm like, oh, what is that? And I'll check on my phone and I'm like, right, I can visualize that.
Yeah.
Where most people in Britain,
I think it was St. Bruno's. I should know this.
St. Bruno's, yeah.
Yeah. St. Bruno's, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, okay, I can visualize this. Yeah. I can put it together, and then it makes like a lot of it flow together. And some of the like the slang or the Yorkshire slang that you add in there, I'm like, what is, like, I'll ask my wife, like, what's this? Like, what's this? Yeah. Like, and then she's like, oh, that's that word or this word and that. I'm like, right, okay. And then I'm like straight back into reading it.
Yeah. It's interesting, the dialect actually, because I was toying with the idea of putting a glossary in there, so you've got an explanation of a definition of some of the words. But I felt that it adds a bit more intrigue. I mean, it's not that I don't think it's inaccessible, and for some people to start with, like you say, you're going to be saying, oh, what does that word mean? But within the context of the story and the context of the sentence, you can get quite a strong sense of what it means. But I think that I didn't want to compromise in terms of the authenticity of the book and of the times, the dialect, and that sense of place and time by watering down the language. The dialect is so important for the story, the feel of it, as I say, that sense of time and place, and also, the dialect in Yorkshire, which is still there, obviously, but in 1976 it was much more prevalent than it is now. If you go to Grassington now, in the heart of the Yorkshire Dales, where my mum was born, where they filmed All Creatures Great and Small.
Oh wow! Wow. Okay, wow.
My mum was actually born above the shop, which is just next to the square where they film a lot of All Creatures Great and Small. So right in the heart of the Yorkshire Dales. But back in those days, most people just had a very broad accent and a lot of local dialect. It's still there, but nowhere near what it was. So again, and you see that progression, I think, throughout even in the book of 16 years from 76 to 92. There's it's more prevalent in 76. So again, that sense of time and place was really important for me to portray through the dialect as well. And I think that one influence with the dialect was obviously me growing up in the Dales. My dad had quite a broad accent up until the last 15 years. So my dad passed away about 10 years ago. But I worked with him. Bought a house, and he was a builder, my dad, and when he retired he helped me work on the house, or I helped him work on my house. And it was wonderful to have a couple of years with him like that, but it really brought me back closer to him in terms of, that's the dialect, and I really picked up again on the dialect because I spent a lot more time with him. I wasn't estranged from him or anything like that. I still saw him regularly, but I didn't spend as much time with him. And working on the house, we used to chat a lot, obviously, and I really just tapped into the language again. And that helped me, I think, create more richness in the story through the language.
Because that richness, the whole dialect, and that, like you said, you put it in the times, and that is very important, especially in the late 70s. And like the whole read through, and the way you've described the clothes as well. Like the fashion at the time, it was just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, oh, that's cool, yeah. Obviously they don't really have, like, there wasn't really any wealthy people or anything. There was just people living, and and you've done the fashion, and it's really nice, and the dialect hits that correctly. That was one of my questions as well. Was like, did you have to do much homework on like the dialects or whatnot, but it
Um,
seems
I did look at a couple of reference books just to remind myself really of some of the language, but it was mainly from my own memory and from my family that I drew upon. The interesting thing about the language again is that for it to be very real, it has to be laced with that dialect, but at the same time you don't want to slip into it being too stereotypical.
yeah.
Like that's Ebagum Yorkshire, But in 1976, people did speak that like that a lot of the time. So that was one of the big challenges of writing the book, was trying to get the balance right between realism and but not falling into stereotype. And hopefully
Yeah.
I got the balance okay, I think.
I think you have, and like, I think it's set perfectly, and this is why we're talking about it as well, because it's like it's very interesting for me, and where you've put your mindset and you've gone out and done this as well, and like the amount of information you've given us as readers, it's it's remarkable,
Oh, thank you.
and
Thanks so much.
and that's why I was like, I got a plenty of questions to ask about it, but it is like it is nice to hear that that's kind of your upbringing, and you've put everything a little bit here, a little bit there, as well as you've got that controlled freedom in there. It's just remarkable,
Oh,
and I
thank you
really.
so much, Ant. I appreciate that.
So I'll let you know when I finish it in maybe 2 weeks, because I'm not a very fast
Oh,
reader.
yeah, no, not at all. I'm not a very fast writer, so
Oh, so I with so we've got the copy here, and
yeah,
with the illustration that you've got on the front,
yeah.
was that taken from somewhere? Was that like what you had in your head? Because to me that is like a perfect.
No, it's just
Yeah.
basically it was just in collaboration with my publisher,
Mm.
King Publishing. As I said, it's got there's a lot of heart and warmth in the story, but it's also got a dark side as well.
Yeah.
And so that sort of portrays the atmosphere of the book in lots of ways.
Mm.
But obviously you've got the butcher on the front. I didn't want it to be too sort of stark and dominate too much, because obviously butchery is central to the story, but the themes are more universal than that as well. So obviously we've got the background of the Dales themselves, sort of brooding sky,
Yeah.
and it's also like it's a wraparound cover. So it's the same
Yeah.
picture that goes around about, which I quite liked. But as I said, again, it's not sort of in your face. It's a bit subtler than that, and but it's got a bit of a dark, brooding sort of atmosphere to it as well, because it is, it's a gritty, realistic story
Yeah.
with a lot of emotion and depth to it. And I didn't want to create a cover that was sort of like all squeaky clean and bright and in your face, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, slap you in the face, kind of like,
Yeah,
oh, what are we doing here? Because
yeah.
when I look at this, there's plenty of detail on the cover, and I wasn't sure if you collaborated with like a local artist or you drew it or whatever. Because I was just like, the detail inside of this is like almost like a painting that you see at like a friend's or something, or you would
Yeah.
see in the museum, and you would look at it, but it was just like it was subtle.
Yeah,
And that's what I was just like, because I really like, it's one of the key features to me when I was holding it, looking at it, and then just seeing the detail. You can see your man in the shop here, you can see all the detail, but I was like, I want to know who designed that, because
yeah.
it's a really cool design.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's all down to my publisher. That obviously we were working on it together. I was coming up with some ideas, but they produced that. So, yeah. I just,
Wow. I see that, like, because TikTok's fairly new to me still,
yeah,
and I like every time I do open it, I see you, and you're out on the road quite a bit, like like making this public,
yes.
like what has been like the feedback that you've gotten after doing these?
I've just had really positive feedback from readers. So
Mm.
I've done a lot of events at bookshops, particularly in the Yorkshire Dales. I've done about 7 or 8, I think now.
Quite a number.
Yeah, where basically a lot of the time in bookshops they have book clubs attached to the bookshop. So to encourage people to read, and it's a social event and everything. So I've managed to persuade some bookshops to get the book clubs to read the book, and they've all bought the book, which is great for sales.
Nice.
And then I go along and I'll give a talk about similar to how I'm with you, basically talking about my writing life, my inspirations, and talking about different aspects of the book, reading out extracts from the book, and then taking questions from the audience. And it's hard to sort of summarize it and say I've had a certain response. Apart from it, it's all been really positive. I think a lot of people have related to, as you were saying, the nostalgic side, really bringing back a lot of precious memories for people from those times. I think another strong thing that I've had coming through is that, again, they really cared about the characters and what happened to them. And by the end of the book, they're just like, oh, we're going to be okay, sort of thing. They're really investing in the characters, which, again, is really important to me. The sense that the book is very authentic, that it's, it really feels like it is in the Yorkshire Dales, that it's not manufactured in any way. It's very natural. So yeah, I've just had a lot of really, really positive feedback on the different aspects of the story. And again, occasionally a challenging question, which has given me another insight, as I was saying to you before, about the dichotomy within me, the two characters. Maybe they're a different side to me. One's one side, one's the other. I thought, oh yeah, okay, maybe you've got a point. But so from that point of view, it's been interesting to get people's insight, into how they interpret it. I think another thing as well is, which I found rewarding, is people say to me, "What's the book about?" And I will usually say, what it is for me, it's about essentially friendship, rivalry, and identity. We're searching for our own personal identities. Well, that's another book coming through the door. Another copy of it. There it is. Copy of the book.
There it is.
Got to keep it going so I can keep selling them. Anyway, what was I saying? I've forgotten now.
You're describing the book to someone, and you said the three features of the book.
Yeah. So it's like, that's how I would describe it, what it is. I know it's not just about that, but essentially for me. Then other people have said to me, one person said to me, it's about how people deal with grief. That's what it was for them. And there are instances in the book where people are dealing with grief. So, and because this person had been through a similar experience in recent years, that was the thing that they really focused on. And they felt that the theme of grief was dealt with very sensitively and powerfully within the story. So that really meant so much to me, because I just thought, yeah, that's an important aspect of the story, but it's not the thing that I would go to immediately. But for this person, it was. So I think that's been really rewarding. You've seen that it's more multi-layered, Somebody else said to me they like the way that women are portrayed in the story. The two central characters are men. The women in the story are very strong characters. And they all go on their own personal journeys. This is the mothers of the two lads, and Jack's sister, and Michael's partner, Michael's wife. Very strong characters, but again, they give the boys a different insight into life, and are really influential in a positive way. So again, that was another aspect of the story, which if somebody said to me, just summarise what the story's about, I maybe wouldn't have touched on that, or maybe wouldn't have touched on the aspect of grief, but for other people it has meant something important to them. So I think that's been something that I found really rewarding and pleasing.
I completely forgot as well, because Carol she's quite a strong woman, and plays quite a vital role in this whole aspect in one side of the book. And especially with what she's dealing with, and what's what had happened in the whole town, made it awkward, and she didn't want to make it awkward, and all these other areas as well. But being a very strong woman, and being one of the, butcher wives, and the granddad's still around, and everything that revolves around her, I found very interesting. And I found it, Yeah, and I don't like Eddie. Fuck Eddie.
Yeah.
You stay off my woman.
So you're entitled to not like people in the book as well, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm very.
Some people come to me and said, "I'm really sorry to say this, but I like say I don't like Eddie," or somebody once said to me, "I don't like the OB." I'm thinking, well, you're not really supposed to like him. You know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a personal thing, isn't it? As well, it's that's great that people interpret it in different ways. I love that. I wouldn't like it if everybody just came with the same response to it. I would feel that if that was the case, it didn't have much depth to it. But I think it has.
It's definitely multi-layered in certain areas. Like, you know, like I completely forgot about, like, not forgot, but like the female characters and how strong of a role that they actually do take in it. And then you're like, there's another layer, and it's like we said earlier, you got the boys, and then you've also got the world around them, and you know, the world developing around them as well. And it's like that is like multiple layers, like you said as well. And it's a good way. But like if someone does ask you to sum it up, it's just like it's really hard to, because it is a really good book, and it's. You know, and I if someone said like, "Oh, what's the book like?" and I'm like, "Just fucking buy it and read it for yourself." Like, I'm not. That's all I got. You know, when people ask me, "Oh, what's like these knives?" Like, just fucking buy it. Just buy them and have a go.
Oh, thank
you know,
so much. Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate that.
So going back to doing like the book clubs and all that, was that your idea? Was that the publisher's idea, or is that just like a normal thing that
it's something,
do?
Yeah, I think it's something that authors aspire to do. You know, my publishers encouraged me to do that, but I've had to use a lot of my own initiative to do it. So as soon as the book was published, I was basically going around the bookshops and saying, this is traditionally published by Fisher-King Publishing. It's had some good reviews, telling them about the story, and then people were happy to stock it. And then I would have the conversation about, is it possible to do an author event? Because I say the vast majority of bookshops do author events on a regular basis. A lot of them with pretty famous authors, which I'm not, but they're also supporting more local authors like myself. They've been absolutely fantastic in getting people in to read the book, getting audiences to come along and engage with me. It's just like a symbiotic thing, because they're obviously getting business themselves as well. It's creating more interest around their shop. It's getting me more well known and my book talked about. So, but it's just, I think that's been a challenging thing, but something I'm getting better at doing is approaching people and just turning up with a few books and saying I've written a book. I'm thinking they're initially going to say, "Oh, somebody else has written a book," But when I'm actually talking about the book and how passionate I am about it and the journey that I've been on with it, they start to engage with it. And as I say, it's been doing really well in bookshops, but that has really helped by doing the author events. But I've had to use a lot of my own initiative with that, and I've become more confident. When I started doing it, I'll be walking up and down the street outside the bookshop for like the hour before, phoning my girlfriend saying, "I don't know if I can do this. Why am I doing this? I don't know if I can go in there." And just like, why am I putting myself through it? But once I'm there and I start talking about my book and engaging with people, I feel fine. But it's just the initial
build up.
Yeah, the build up. But I've become a lot more confident with it now, even though I'm, still get nervous.
Yeah, no, 100%. Nerves are good. I found like when I would do like a lot of talk shows or I do like events for like whatever, I'd always find myself like not pacing, but just real built up in my head.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, this is a product that I believe in, and I know it inside out.
Yes.
Just talk about it. Yeah. And that's what I've kept. And like Dave Corbett is a really good instant. Like I say to Dave Corbett, this fella who's like, he's a master butcher. Yeah. He listens to this religiously. Yeah. He won't mind me saying this, but he doesn't have very much self-confidence when it comes to that sort of thing, which and it's taken me 101 times to say, you fucking deserve better. Yeah. You know this product inside out. Just go for it. Put yourself out there. Yeah. Do it. Do these live chats. Yeah. Do these events. Yeah. And and now he's flying and he's great. He's been on this podcast and he tore it to shreds. He's a remarkable man.
Brilliant.
But it's a really good thing is having nerves.
Yeah.
And but staying on the other side, going, well, this is my thing. This is what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I always found it. I love it. I love this stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And it's inspiring to hear you say that, and the journey that you've been on, and you're helping other people as well, which is wonderful. And it is about believing in your product, believing what you're selling, and what you, not necessarily what you're selling, but what you're talking about, your passion. And that's the thing, that once I start talking about my book and about my writing, then the nerves tend to just ebb away, because actually the passion overtakes it.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And like it only takes like that 5 to 10 minutes of just warming up, and then you're just like, all right, we're in the zone, and this is what you can do. The only nerve-wracking bit is if like someone hits you with like a really awkward question, you're just like, oh.
Are you going to hit me with a really awkward question now?
No, definitely not. No, of course not. Not yet. I'll get you later. So you've done 8 of those now, and are those based like in your area, or are they kind of like Manchester, or are they Yorkshire? Like
mainly in Yorkshire. I did a really good event last year in Laban in the Yorkshire Dales, a great bookshop called the Wonky Tree Bookshop.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, and they're just lovely people, and they've really backed me in the book, and they've got a book club attached to them. So there was about 30 people turned up, but they hired the local arts centre, and I did the presentation there, which is fantastic. But I've done things in Manchester as well. The launch was actually in Manchester, near where I live.
Okay.
So that was like an interview situation. Lots of people came on to that. I really enjoyed that too. And I'm just trying to do things like this. Obviously, this is the first podcast I've done.
You're doing very well.
Pardon?
You're doing very well.
Yeah. Thank you. I've done like a radio show, and there's a couple of actually getting the book in newspapers. I've got it in quite a few local newspapers now. It's in the Dalesman magazine, which is the best-selling regional news magazine in the country. It was an article there last year, and it's been a literary magazine as well with a really good write-up. So all these things, it's about initiating them, making contact with people, believing in what you're doing. But each time it's out of my comfort zone for sure. But it's just I know that if I don't do it, the book will probably just sit on the shelf somewhere and nobody will ever know about it. And I know it's better than that. I know that people are reading it and then are glad that they've read it. So
yeah.
And I've got to get it out there as much as I can.
Yeah.
People get that experience, and I want it to be successful. So. But,
yeah. It is. It deserves it. It deserves a good spotlight. It's easy to read for me. And anyone could read this book and get attached to it very quickly. And you can't put it down. And like, if you're a big heavy reader, that's kind of like a bit of fun for them. Like if they're into fantasy and everything, like in other bits, like my wife said, like she'll read dozens of books a month.
Yeah.
But she says that's good.
Yeah.
And I believe her.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic that you're actually putting yourself out there and going, it deserves it.
Yeah.
I'm backing myself, and this horse is going to, race.
Definitely.
It's good.
Definitely.
It's good.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I'm going to hit you with an awkward question anyway.
Right.
We have prepped a few pages for you to read, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, you tell me what you're going to read out,
Okay.
what section.
Okay.
And I won't listen because I probably haven't read it. No, I'm joking.
It was quite hard to choose because there's some different aspects to the book. But obviously, with this being Butcher's podcast, I thought we should have a couple of scenes from the different butcher shops.
Yeah.
And also because they also exemplify the main characters, the protagonists of Michael and Jack. their characteristics. So I'll just read you out a couple of extracts from a couple of chapters, if that's all right.
Absolutely. That's why I asked. I was like, pick some chapters. Let's have a listen. Get people involved.
Fantastic. So I'll give you a bit of context. This is I'm going to read you out a couple of extracts from chapter 3, which is in the summer of 1976. This is when the boys are 12 years old. So this is from Jack's point of view. He's 12 years old at this point. His dad is a bully and abuses him physically and mentally. And Jack, at this point, he resents it and he feels trapped, but at the same time he craves his father's love. And so that's the context. And also, their butcher's shop has just had a refit, so they've been closed down for a couple of weeks. They've ripped everything out. They've put in a new cabinet, new units and everything. And it's the grand opening day, the reopening day, on a Saturday morning on a summer's day in 1976. So I'll read you a bit from the beginning of the chapter and then a couple of bits further on, and I'll just keep giving you a little bit of context. This is the beginning of chapter 3. It was 20 to 9 on the following Saturday morning, and Jack wanted to be dossing about in the hot July sunshine with Michael and the rest of his mates, not working in the cooler air of the shop with its cold-smelling meat and gleaming white fridges. School had only broken up for summer holidays yesterday, but today was grand opening day. At 9 o'clock, the OB, old bastard, as Jack secretly called his dad, will be as proud as oat. He'd raise the metal Venetian blinds on the shop window and freshly painted red door, click back the latch, and let the punters in to traipse all over his new chessboard floor. After a proper modern refit, stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap, Hargrave's Butchers was reopening for business. The OB was on the customer's side of his brand new pride and joy, the very latest glass meat cabinet. It near as damn it spanned the length of the shop, all the way from the front window display to a couple of feet from the back wall where it stopped, leaving a gap for access. The old bastard was giving it a final polish with Mr. Sheen. Jack was on the serving side, kitted out in the same clobber as father, blue pinstripe apron over butcher's whites, setting out the oblong trays of raw meat with their plastic tags and black ink bargain prices. He glanced at the OB a time or two when he sensed he wasn't looking. You could see his bald head shining through that right greasy sweep over hair as he worked away at his precious cabinet. He might have been grooming a horse for a cracker to rosette. Jack had never seen him show such love. Molly the mop was in too, sliding sharp-smelling disinfectant over the chessboard floor tiles. She was in her 60s now, big-boned with a fat face and a giant laugh. If anyone seemed like a proper butcher in Hargrave's shop, Jack reckoned Molly did. She'd likely say she'd earned it, mind, having been butchering up and down the Dale most of her born days. It made Jack chuffed if she was working when he did a shift, because she was usually right good at taking the edge off the OB. So that's the beginning of that chapter. And then I'll just give you a little from the middle. Sorry.
That's so good though. Like just the whole description, you can visualize it, and like we've been saying this whole time, you can visualize the whole lot. Yeah. It's really good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Nice writing.
Thank you. And then a little bit just halfway through, at this point, the shop is about to open, and the OB has gone out the back of the shop to have a smoke. And with the building work that's been going on, there's a guy called Eddie Weir who's been the main builder, and he's left a lintel in the prep room that he's not moved yet, and the OB wants him to shift it. And this is just when he arrives, when the OB is out the back of the shop, but Jack is in the shop. Then Jack could hear a van pulling up, and soon there was a knock at the door. Turning the latch, he opened it, felt the sunny heat on his face. Mutton chops Eddie Weir, in summer vest, shorts, dirty builder's boots, was standing on the top step of the three which led up to the shop from the high street. "All right, Jack," he said, keeping his voice down. Your dad about? Aye, he's out back having a smoke. I'll collar him for you, said Jack, turning on his heels. Hold up, said Eddie, grabbing him by the arm. What mood's he in? Somewhat between simmering and steaming? Oh, think I'd best get a miss then. I was going to take that spare lintel away for him. He's been nagging me to do it before you open again. But if he's that way out, he's ratty with me any road, and I've got a banging headache. Too much loopy juice last night. Aye. Right. So that's just he's come to get the lintel. That was the point of that. And also, I wanted just to show you a little bit of the dialect, which is important in the story, which hopefully came through there.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Thank you. So what happens next is that Eddie, the builder, decides that he's not going to take the lintel, and he just goes back to his car. But just before he does, Jack thinks that he's going to get some brownie points with his dad. As I was saying before, he wants to get closer to his dad and make things all right. So he goes into the back of the shop to get the lintel, and Eddie is now waiting at the shop door to receive the lintel from him. This is at the end, towards the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Jack strode across the shop, down the side of the cabinet, through the Union Jack opening into the prep room. The door to out back was open. He caught the smell of pipe tobacco drifting in. It made him think of wood burning under a mud oven. Bending down, gritting his teeth, he picked up the stone lintel. Molly said she'd give him a lift, but he said he could manage. Mum told him to be careful. Feeling the strain in his arms and legs, he walked back into the shop through the strips of red, white and blue. With proper heavy feet, he made it to the clean chessboard floor where punters would soon be standing. He was right near the cabinet. He nearly stuttered beneath the lintel's weight. But he could see Eddie and the front of the queue gawping at him through the shop doorway. He carried on alongside the cabinet toward them. He was not but halfway when, like a pawn, he made the move onto that white square. Must have been the one that was still wet, because Molly had been told to clear up too soon. His rubber sole squeaked as it slid. His foot shot from under him. He squealed like a pig being slaughtered, and as he fell flat on his back, one end of the lintel crashed through the glass. Folk outside at the front of the queue gasped. As Jack stared up at the lintel poking from the wrecked cabinet, he pictured sharp shards scattered over the meat, embedding themselves like diamonds. Then everyone was there, a worried little crowd looking down at him, asking if he was all right, saying thank goodness he'd not been cut. Mum squatting beside him, stroking his hair, poor little Tracy crying, Eddie carefully pulling the lintel from the cabinet, Rockabilly with a smirk on his chops, the photographer snapping a couple of sneaky pictures before he arrived. Jack heard a murmur from the crowd, saw a nudge or two, people standing back to let someone coming from the direction of the prep room through. Then there he stood at Jack's feet. He seemed massive from the floor, but why wasn't he looking as angry as he should? His eyes didn't even look to be bulging that much. Somewhat cold about them now, like they belonged to a robot or a bounty hunter. They were the only bits of him that moved. First they stared down at the smashed cabinet and what must have been glassed meat. Then they took in all the punters, all those folk who turned out especially for Rodney Hargrave's glorious day. Then they found Jack and slowly went right narrow, like they'd recognised something, like they'd found what they were looking for. So
Fantastic.
Thank you. So that's Jack's point. That's Jack's experience when he's 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that whole, it's so easy to visualize that as well. And it's nicely written. And obviously I've read that. But what to come after that and then the following chapters, it just gets so incredible. And it's like, that's like a good stepping stone to people to like get hooked on this and read the rest, because it just progressively gets better and better and better.
Oh, thank you so much. Brilliant.
That's all right,
I'm
mate.
having that. Thank you.
Yeah, have it, mate.
I'm having that. and then I'll show. There was a choice of two, but I think I'll go with this one. This is Michael, the other main protagonist, Jack's best friend, and this is 7 years later. So this is when the boys are 19. This is in Easter of 1983, and Michael is just starting to take over the family butcher's shop, and this is the first time he's taken over on a really busy day, which happens to be Good Friday.
Sink or swim, baby. Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Good Friday. Woo!
Yeah. So hopefully this will give you a bit of an insight into Michael's attitude towards his butcher's shop and the family and his responsibility and the whole history. And we get a sense, hopefully, of his different personality to Jack. Chapter 12. Reckoning his full-timers, Len and Mark, were nicely on top of the butchering in the prep room, Michael had just swapped his bloodied white apron for a clean one washed and ironed by Mum. Now he was standing in the middle of the shop, looking at the mahogany clock above the prep room doorway, watching its pendulum swing. Be opening up in half an hour. He'd been in charge on a few days now, but this was the first time he'd taken the reins for one of the busiest days of the year. Flipping heck. Good Friday. He hoped it went okay. The history of the place was everywhere, weighing on him. Made him right proud too, mind. He ran his hand over the big butcher's block which, along with the meat cabinet beside it, acted as the serving counter. Look how scarred and bowed the old girl was from years of chopping and scrubbing down. She'd need replacing again soon, no mistake. He'd have to get another exact copy made, though. That was the tradition. Getting a different block would be akin to replacing the altar in Foulbeck Church with a wooden bench. A great chunk of wood like this had been in Bowers family butchers since day one, over a century ago, when great-great-granddad Albert started trading. Michael loved it being part of the serving counter too. There was still plenty of folk who liked seeing a proper butcher at work, cutting up meat right under their noses. You could sense them smelling its juices as the knife sliced it open. He traced a finger along a couple of cut marks at the edge of the block, where scrubbing down hadn't worn away the wood so much, and thought about Albert making similar marks 100 years since. Looking about, there was so much tradition in this shop. That was one of the things which had made the business the successful one it was down the years, which still made it successful, despite the recession and competition from Hargrave's shop. You needed expertise and a top-quality product as well, of course. Essential they were, but Dad had always talked about the importance of tradition. There was value in it. Punters liked it. They trusted it. Made them feel special somehow, like they were part of something which had stood the test of time, part of somewhat deeper than just swapping brass for slabs of meat. Well, they had tradition coming out of their ears at Bowers Family Butchers. Oh yeah, a few years since, Mum decided the sawdust floor had to go. Maybe they'd held on to that for too long, especially with all this health and safety coming in nowadays. But they still had the ancient cash register with buttons like old typewriter keys, the meat scales with little towers of weights, the glossy green wall tiles, and they had the family tradition of hanging photos of each butcher generation standing outside under the shop sign. Michael would have his own picture up soon. He turned from the butcher's block and looked at the white wall opposite. There was Dad with his arm round Mum, the pair of them beaming at the camera. They'd been so happy, hadn't they? He gazed at Dad a minute. He'd never let him down. He'd rather die. Leave it there, I think.
Yeah. That's so good. You can hear the proud, like how proud he is, the tradition, it's been running in the family. But the way you describe the whole entire thing and the butcher shop itself with the mahogany and then the block next to the cabinet, the tiles, everything, it's such an easy book to get along with, like I've said. And it's just, you can visualize it and read it, and it's just, it works.
That means a lot. Fantastic, thank you. I've got there was a couple more, but I don't know how much you want me to read. That gave you a bit of a taste.
I think leave the taste there.
Yeah.
They can do the rest once, like we make it public and that. But like, don't want to give them too much. Just
No,
just
that's
a touch.
right. I agree.
Just a touch.
Yeah. But I think that was I chose those because it was about, obviously, because this is a Butcher's podcast, but also because I think it really gives a sense of them as characters, and hopefully intrigues people enough to want to find out what happens to them in their story moving forward.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like number 3 resonated quite a bit with me because, like I said to you off camera, and it's funny as well that you picked chapter 3 because I've broken cabinets before, and what is to come in, like when they read past chapter 3 onwards. It's like I've had like experiences in those similar ways, but like all accidental, like like you read out, but it's but there is like a sense of it when you read chapter 12 as well. Is that's how, like, this is just my experience when I read it. Is that's how I feel. There's a lot of tradition. There's a lot of pride. The smells, the feel of the block. Everything that comes with being a butcher itself. It resonated very, very well with me, and you've captured. You've captured it very well. And obviously, because that's in the 80s, like. When was it, the 80s? Chapter 12. Yeah, because it's 9. And so that's, you can, like, some shops still really have the green and white or the red and white or these other like bits and pieces, but like I've seen those colors before here in this country, and I can visualize it because I know exactly what I'm thinking about when I read that, and when I was hearing it, I was like, it's easy to get along with.
Oh, that's great. It's very reassuring to know that coming from.
Did you think I'm just going to write this and then just kind of take what I have seen or been a part of, like when writing the book in the butchery part, or did you do a little bit of homework, or did you ask anyone?
For the butchery, especially describing the actual, there was one extract which I was wondering about reading to you, which is when there's actually some proper butchery going on, but I did a lot of research on that and looked at a lot of YouTube butchers actually demonstrating the art, as it were, and so I got all the technical side of it, hopefully pretty accurate. In terms of the interior of the butcher shops, just like from what I've observed, but also bringing in, like in particular Michael's butcher's shop, they still have things there that would have been around like in Victorian times, like particularly like those green tiles, those green glossy tiles. I see them around Manchester sometimes in old pubs which have been there since Victorian times. So just trying to pick up on those sort of details. But there is a scene in chapter 18, which is in 1989, when Michael has properly taken over the butcher shop in his mid-20s, where he gets up early in the morning, he can't sleep because he's worried about the competition between him and Jack's butcher shop, and he sort of loses himself in butchery itself and goes into the shop at about like 3 in the morning and takes the carcass down and butchers it, and describes it all to himself as he's doing it, and the pride within that. And he also, whilst he's doing that, he's thinking about his father when his father was alive, and how his father used to take him out to the local farms, and he's reliving that experience with his dad when his dad used to take him to look at the longhorn cattle, and speak to the farmer, and that connection that we were talking about, the chain of the farms and the butchers and the customers and the sense of community. So he's reliving that at the same time whilst he's actually doing his job. And I really enjoyed writing that chapter, but obviously I had to do quite a lot of research to make sure I was getting it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an absurd amount of detail before, like when you're, like you said, you're doing the research and you're trying to like do the carcass and everything. There's an absurd amount of detail that goes with what you're doing to now translating it into to a book, and the amount of detail you have to go to just to give the reader a bit of depth about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can get lost with that, especially when breaking down a carcass. I do it all the time. I'm just
Right.
I'm just lost in the moment myself, just doing stuff, and then I'll kind of catch myself thinking about like, what am I doing? Hang on, and then
Yeah.
oh no, okay, back to what I was doing. Like almost like in a trance
Yeah.
when it comes to breaking down butchering. It's like a therapeutic escape for me.
Well,
And
that's good to know that, because
mm,
I think that's what's happening with Michael in that particular scene that I've just described. Sorry, in chapter 18, not the bit I've just read out, because he is losing himself in his trade, and he's getting closer to his father again through that.
yeah,
And the process of doing what he does so well has so much more meaning to him than just the physical act of doing it, and that really comes across, I hope, in that chapter. We're in his head a lot of the time. This is something that goes on throughout the book. There's a lot of internal monologues, so we're in the heads of Michael and Jack, and hopefully that gets us closer to their emotions and their experiences, and that's a good example of that in that chapter, I think. Sorry, I think I interrupted you then.
no.
Oh, okay.
No, no, good. No, it's just a brilliant way, and that way, because like I said, there is so much detail, but now you got to almost not simplify the detail to translate the detail to giving detail to the reader. There's like just an absurd amount of translation, and you got to find that balance. And the whole way through the book, there is a great balance of you've got the wording and the dialect.
Yeah.
The description of stuff, the progression of stuff, it just keeps continuously evolving, and I can see why this has taken 8 years, and but the writing is good, and it is easy, and I like it, and that's why I've got you on here, and I wanted to talk about it, and it's just fantastic. And now I know a publicist, now I know someone who's published a book, 2 books actually, sorry, but and this evolves around a world of like our world, the people and the listeners and everything that comes with it, and it is like good fun to read, and it's nice that someone has taken the time and energy to do what you've done, but not for yourself or anyone, but for us, and to translate it. It's just fantastic, and I like it.
Thanks so much for inviting me on, Anthony. I really do appreciate it. I say I've not done anything like this before, but it's very nice just to be able to talk about it in a relaxed way, in an informal manner, and I've written notes about characters and what I'm going to say, but it just sort of tends, when you have a conversation and you just put me at ease. It's nice just to be able to. It tends to evolve naturally. Hopefully, a bit like the writing itself. So.
No, that's what I said to you at the beginning. I was like, look, it's just you and I. There's nothing like we can just take our time doing this, and just relax. And it's good to see. Like a lot of people do tend to get a bit nervous because they are talking about themselves, or they're like trying to give a bit of insight to someone who, like a lot of butchers can be introverts, where I'm quite the opposite. I just like, oh, you got something I like, I want to hear about it, and like sometimes it's a bit hard to draw people out of those, but you've come across it and done it in such an easy fashion. And the note things, it's just great. I love it. Some people do, some people are like, I'm just going to shoot from the hip.
It's a bit like the writing itself, as I say, plan everything out and then just try and escape from your plans. Don't be constrained by them, and that's how it's felt doing this, so that's really good.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And do you have like any new ideas of like a book that you're going to be writing like soon, or any ideas of something new?
A few ideas, yeah. It's very early stages though. I'm still really in the throes of promoting this one. What I am doing is I'm actually rewriting my first one. That's why I'm not promoting it, although it's not butcher related. Back Road was a book I wrote like 12 years ago, and I feel I've developed so much through writing the Butcher Boys that I can really see how I can develop that first one, and I've been working on that now for the last year or so. I'm hoping, in the next year or so, it's going to be republished by Fisher King Publishing.
Amazing.
Which is quite unusual, but I recognise that I'm much more developed as a writer now, and so I can really do that one more justice. But also, I'm seeing it as a stepping stone to hopefully writing a third book. I just don't feel I can start on something new just yet until I've got that one as I want it. And also, I'm spending so much time promoting the Butcher Boys, and I work part time as a carer as well. As I say, I'm a dad and a granddad, so I'm not complaining, but I've got enough going on. But I'm definitely ambitious to start on something new. I'm getting more and more excited about writing something new. At the moment, as I say, I just want to redo my first one so I can do that justice, and then I think I'm really raring to go for a third one. I can bring it in at under 8 years this time. You never know.
I mean, 8 years. Yeah, 8 years of showing, and like you can tell, it's perfect just the way it is, and I've really enjoyed it. But like to rewrite a book though, is that common, or is that just like, all right, this is what I got something new?
I don't think it's that rare. It's not that common.
Okay.
But I think a lot about being a successful writer or being happy as a writer is finding the right publisher. Fisher King Publishing has been fantastic for me because I've had the time to express myself and develop in my own time, which has been really important. I don't want to be with a big publisher, one of the big four or whatever, where they're actually over my shoulder saying, right, I need something else in the next 12 months. It wouldn't be enjoyable, and I don't think I produce anything anywhere near as good as I can if I take my time. So they've really supported and backed me in that. And at the same time, when I finished the Butcher Boys and got that out there, I approached them and said, look, I'd really like to do a rewrite on that first one because I think I can make it so much better. I'm just being honest. I mean, at the moment, people are buying Backroad, fantastic, but I'm just going to get it out there and just say, I'm actually going to make it a lot better. And I think it's an individual journey as a creative person. With anybody, it's an individual journey, isn't it? And for me, I want to do that on justice. And again, Fisher King have absolutely backed me in that and said, absolutely do that. We'll republish it and we'll promote that, and then get on with your third one whenever the time's right for you. So I really do appreciate that. And yeah, it feels like that's the thing I want to devote myself to at the moment, and that's the thing that is I can deal with at the moment. If you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, you don't want to be spinning too many plates, and then everything just spirals out of control, and then whatever comes to a halt. No, it's a very clever way of doing it, and shout out to Fisher King, man. That's really good of them to be on your side.
They've been fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Right, before we go, would you like to promote where we can buy the book and everything in between?
Yeah, I'll hold the book up. Thank you so much.
There you go.
There it is. So the book is available in bookshops throughout the Yorkshire Dales, but also you can just order it from any bookshop, including Waterstones. So you can buy it from Waterstones online, or you can go into any Waterstones shop and order it. It's unlikely to be on the shelves in Waterstones at the moment, but they will order it for you because it is a traditionally published novel. Also, you can buy it directly from Amazon. So I've got the link for that. I don't know if I should give that to you, Anthony.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes. It'll be on YouTube and the Spotify, and we'll also put it on the Instagram TikTok. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. Oh, thanks so much for that.
That's that.
So so you can just buy it directly from Amazon. So yeah, any bookshop, including Waterstones, or directly from Amazon. It's available in paperback, but it's also available on Kindle and audiobook. And I did the narration for the audiobook. So that took me about 6 months as well. So you've got those three formats as well. I'd love if people would buy it and enjoy it, and thanks so much for the opportunity.
No, of course, Chris, absolutely. You've done something for the industry, and that's why you're here. And you probably didn't know that you would probably be on a butchery podcast talking about something like this.
As soon as you suggested it to me, I thought, I definitely want to do that. I definitely want to do that. So and I've really, really enjoyed it. Thanks so much, and hopefully people will see it and enjoy the chat that we've had and find it interesting.
I'm sure that we'll get plenty of love on this, mate, because this is fantastic.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Right, I'm going to let you enjoy your afternoon.
Thanks so much, Ant, for this opportunity. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks for,
No, of course,
for
it's
your,
been good
for your
fun.
questions and your interest. I really appreciate it.
Of course, do you think I missed anything out on asking questions, or?
No, I've looked down my list. I think you've covered just about everything. Yeah, so wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ant, for this. I've really loved it, and it's a great opportunity. Really appreciate
Anytime,
it.
Chris.
Cheers.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Right, good luck with everything. I'll be following you and posting you, and stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Thank you so much.
Mate.
Let's see.
Cheers. Take care.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye now.